गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती जिनीवती धीनामवित्रयवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम् अस्य श्रीरुद्राध्याय प्रश्नमहामन्त्रस्य अघोर ऋषिः अनुष्टुप् छन्दः संकर्षणमूर्तिस्वरूपो योऽसावादित्यः परमपुरुष स एष रुद्रो देवता नमः शिवायेति बीजं शिवतरायेति शक्तिः महादेवायेति कीलकम् श्री सांब सदाशिव प्रसाद सिद्ध्यर्थे जपे विनियोगः ओम नमः शंभवे च अग्निहोत्रात्मने अंगुष्ठाभ्यां नमः मयो भवे च दर्श पूर्णमासात्मने तर्जनीभ्यां नमः नमः शंकराय च चातुर्मास्यात्मने मध्यमाभ्यां नमः मयस्कराय च निरूढबन्धात्मने अनामिकाभ्यां नमः नमः शिवाय च ज्योतिष्ठोमात्मने कष्टिकाभ्यां नमः शिवराय च सर्वकृत्वात्मने करतलकरपृष्ठाभ्यां नमः नमः शंभवे च अग्निहोत्रात्मने हृदयाय नमः मयो भवे च दर्श पूर्णमासात्मने शिरसे स्वाहा नमः शंकराय च चातुर्मास्यात्मने शिखाय मयस्कराय च निरूढवशुबन्धात्मने कवचाय हुं नमः शिवाय च ज्योतिष्ठोमात्मने नेत्रत्रयाय वंषट् शिवतराय च सर्वकृत्वात्मने अस्त्राय फट् भूर्भुवः स्वरोमिति दिग्बन्धः ध्यानम् आपातालनभस्तलान्तभुवनद्ब्रह्माण्डमा विस्फुरत् ज्योतिस्फाटिकलिङ्गमौलिविलसत् पूर्णेन्दुवान्तामृतैः अस्तोकाप्लुतमेकमीशमनिशं रुद्रानुवाकाञ्जपन् ध्यायेदीप्सितसिद्धये ध्रुवपदं विप्रोभिषिञ्चेच्छम् माण्डव्याप्तदेहाबसितहिमरुचा भुजङ्गैः कण्ठे कालाः कपर्दा चण्ड कोदण्डहस्ताः त्र्यक्षारुद्राक्षमाला प्रणतभयहरा शाम्भवामूर्तिभेदाः रुद्रा श्रीरुद्रसूक्त प्रकटित विभवान् प्रयच्छन्तु सौख्यं शुद्धस्फटिक संकाशं शुद्ध विद्याप्रदायकं शुद्धं पूर्णं चिदानन्दं सदा शिवमहं भजे ॐ नमो ओम शांति शांति शांति. Om Sri Sai Ram everyone. Welcome back to the second week of our Sri Rudra Jnana Yajna, and thanks to those that have sent their homework in, and this is very important. Homework is more important than actually the study circle itself. And the homework was sent in the emails. Please pay attention to the homework that is being sent in the emails. Just to very quickly recap on what we have studied last week. Last week, we have studied about the context of the Nyasas, the context of the Dhyana Shlokas, particularly about the Nyasas. Nyasa means installation, And very quickly, I have explained what these nyasas are in the email. But for those of you who have not had the opportunity to read the email or pay attention to it, please study the emails as well, because the point of this study circles is really study. It is not just about listen, okay? Swami says, what is the point of pouring a medicine in your ear? Actually, you have to take the medicine through your mouth so that it works in the body. So if you pour a medicine in the ear, it won't cure the body. A lot of doctors on this call, so they all can tell you how a medicine has to be consumed. And there is also a prescription about the medicine. All these mantras are really as powerful, if not more powerful, than actually medicine. The point of this is to inner assimilation. Take the medicine inside. Let the mantra go inside. Let it do its job. And that means you have to not only chant the mantra, but also take the mantra inside. Nyasas. A lot of my brother Branimir, after the study circle last week, called and asked me, what is all these different yajnas? What is Agnihotra? What is Darsya Purnamasa? What is Chaturmasya? What is Nirodha Pashubandha? What is Jyotishtomatma, Sarvakratva? All these are different types of yajnas that are performed by the people that are doing this Vishwa Kalyanam for the sake of universal peace. They do different yajnas. Now the question is, in today's world, what kind of yajnas can we do? We don't even know how to even understand what these yajnas mean. If you go do Google searches, you will get confused because they're all completely out of context, all these yajnas. But these nyasas that I described are actually about inner yajna. No matter what religion you belong to, these yajnas that I am describing through Bhagavan's grace are applicable to every single individual. So I will very quickly, very briefly explain what these are, and I'm sure you all can contemplate on it more as you opine upon this. So the first yajna is about Agnihotra. Now, what is Agnihotra? Agnihotra is fire. Now I'm moving back because you can see fire is here. Agnihotratmane Hridayaya Namaha. Invoke the fire of the divine in your own heart. And when you invoke this fire in your own heart, Hridayaya Namaha, then what is here? Here is all about thoughts. There are so many thoughts that are constantly, relentlessly coming and going and coming and going. Take each of these thoughts, offer in this Agnihotra, the fire in your heart. That means what? All the thoughts are offered in the fire of the heart. Darsha Purnama Sirase Swaha. Then Chaturmasa. What is Chaturmasa? Chaturmasa is a ritual that is observed to control the senses completely. And when they do this Chaturmasya, the great souls, and they some of them observe even today, they actually observe the pattern of the moon, and then they eat food according to the pattern of the moon. That means on a no moon day, they don't even eat anything. And on a regular day, they look at the moon, and based on the phase of the moon, they'll consume only that much food, fistful. And Chaturmasya here means all the instincts and everything that is related to your senses. Controlling the senses is Chaturmasya. That's why, according to Sanatana Dharma, the Vedic Pandits have a Sikha. Means what? They grow the hair to the back and they tie it back. That means controlling the senses. And this is the reason why even women have this beautiful thing about this braided hair, where they grow the hair and they actually tie it to the back and they braid it, isn't it? So Chaturmasya is also is about controlling the senses. Chaturmasyatmane Sikhayai Vashatu. Sikha is in the back. Then Nirudha Pashu Bandha. It is beautiful thing where you take your ego and you tranquilize it. Nirudham means you are controlling your ego, and this ego is like an animal because it can run anywhere and everywhere. So you take your tranquilized ego, you control your ego, you tie it and you put it to the side. Nirudha Pashubandhatmane Kavachaya Hum. Now you see, when you put your hands like this, Kavacha. I have tranquilized, controlled my ego. Completely my ego is under control. So then there is fire in the heart. The thoughts are offered in the fire. Control of the senses. And then you control your ego. Then what happens? Jyotishtomatmane netratrayaya vaushatu. You are able to see very clearly the divine vision. Jyotishtomatmane netratraya. Now not with two eyes, but you are able to see with three eyes. The third eye is open. Netratrayaya vaushatu. And once you have seen the divine and have able to actually have the vision of the divine, that energy that is now coming into you is released all over like an arrow shot. Sarva kratvatmane astraya. Phat. Then what happened? You are now ready. You are ready for this beautiful invocation. Now what you are going to do is this digbandhaha. Dik means all directions. Now you are controlling yourself through all directions. Nothing touches you. And we get into this dhyana sloka of invocation. And last week I shared about what are all the different meanings of Rudra. And I have received a couple of emails that are very beautiful. I'll very quickly summarize what are all. Most of the people had one question about one meaning of the Rudra. And I'll open up very quickly. And if you have anything to share very briefly in the context of this different meanings of the Rudra, and a lot of the people have probably connected to the one who destroys the worldly suffering. Yes, we want God to destroy our suffering. God is there constantly to work for us, and therefore we constantly ask him to do something for us. But one meaning that people could not connect to is one who makes you suffer and removes all the suffering. Did anyone have any insights into that particular meaning of Rudra? The one who makes you suffer at the end.
Sairam, Sujata.
Yes, ma'am. Sairam.
So, as a physician, I can see if you have an illness, physician gives you a bitter medication, or they may give you vaccination, or they may do surgery. So you have to suffer a little before he takes the suffering away.
Okay, that's the, yeah, thank you. That's the meaning of what we are calling as the one who makes you suffer. Okay, but what is the meaning of the word? How do we understand the one? The one who makes you suffer at the end, something like that. Some people have asked that question. The one who
Sir,
makes all suffer at the end. That is the one that anybody has an insight about that. Yes, Sairam? Someone is saying something? Question?
sir, good
Yes,
evening, Laura.
Sairam.
Sairam. For me, the meaning maybe is if you attain liberation only to suffering, maybe. It's something that this meditation suggests to me. You have to suffer before and leave all the trouble in the world to attain liberation, moksha.
Aha. Very good.
Thank you.
Can I say something? This is Uma from Sacramento.
Yes, Sairam.
Dasharatha is a beautiful example of that. He was so attached to the world, and circumstances were so arranged where Rama had to leave and he suffered, and he died chanting the name of Rama to get liberation. So the Supreme Being, decided that he needs to get a liberation. So that event occurred in his life.
The one who makes all suffer, not one individual. That is the meaning we are contemplating on. The one who?
But isn't that extrapolatable to everyone?
Individually, yes, but collectively, yeah. So that's, I want to opine, have other people also share. So thank you, Uma. Dasharatha is also, for those of you who do not know, Dasharatha is because we have so many brothers and sisters from Europe who may not be connecting to the Puranas that are relevant to Hindus. So Dasharatha means, Dasha means 10, Ratha means chariot. Dasharatha means the one who is driven by the 10 senses. There are 10 senses, 5 that are involved in action, 5 that are involved in perception. And those 10 senses are ran by one in the chariot, that is the body. The one who is run by the 10 senses. So I'm taking Uma's sharing and making it applicable to all. There is no human being that doesn't have 10 senses, and the 10 senses are run in a chariot. The one means the one who is run by these 10 senses. That is what is suffering. Now, there are a lot of people that are realized souls too. Are they going to suffer at the end? That is the question. Yes, please, anyone else?
Sai Ram, this is Sai Lalita. Yes, the suffering means not physical, but as long as we are like 60, 65, 70, whatever age we are in, and we are attached to the human bondings and mental bondings too. So during that time, at one point of time, the person gets kind of vairagya, and at that point, leaving all this at the back of your mind, leave everything away and try to contemplate on the inner self. That is the suffering all of us will go through. It is not visible to an external person, but we go through that because our mind is so trained, our human body is so trained that on a regular basis we'll be attached, thinking of kith and kin, spouses, whatnot. So the renunciation part of it is a suffering. That's what I think about it. Please correct me if I am wrong.
Sairam Shekhar. Shekhar got. Shekhar Anna.
Yeah, thank you, Lalita ji. Thank you, Sairam.
Sairam Shekhar. I just wanted to. Sairam, this is Kusuma from Norwalk.
We can hear you, Kusuma. Sairam.
The thing here is who is the sufferer? So,
Yes. Thank you.
If you transcend the suffering, that's where the point comes, because it doesn't make sense to me. Suffering relates to body and the mind.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Very beautiful insight. The question is the one who makes all suffer, meaning who is that suffer? What is that suffering? And there are 3 key operators there, right? One is all, second is suffer, and third is end. So what I see that someone is asking in the context of what is the end? And there are some beautiful ends that Swami has given. There are 4 ends, E and Ds, that Swami has given. And when you understand what those ends are, you will actually, it will be much more relevant in the context of what an end is. The end of education is character. The end of culture is perfection. The end of knowledge is freedom. The end of wisdom is love. 4 ends. What means end? The end of life? This life? Okay, that's a beautiful thing. How do we know that this life has ended? So there is the context of the end we are talking about is in the context of a pursuit, And what does this meaning suffer mean? Does Jesus the Christ suffer on the cross or not? So we can go through these examples of what suffering is, what pain is, what worry is, and the beautiful essence of the entire Buddhism. And by the way, this week is Buddha Purnima. Maybe Swami is invoking Buddha in this context. Buddha has asked this question about what is suffering. What is suffering? So contemplate in the context of suffering, as Buddha has alluded to, what is the cause of suffering? And then when we contemplate on the Buddhism aspect of this, we shall know what suffering means. When we look at Jesus the Christ on the cross, we shall know what is suffering. Yes, so I think I will leave these meanings with you, and there is a beautiful sharing by one of the devotees on how this particular Rudra meanings have inspired her to connect to Zoroastrianism in a very beautiful way. And in Zoroastrianism, there are different aspects of Asha, Sarosha, and there is a beautiful sharing on how these are connected to the formless aspect of the divine in Zoroastrianism. And I'm trying to, what I'll do is I will summarize that in the next email that would be sent so that you all are benefited by that sharing as well. So the worldly meanings related to what is worldly suffering, and then there is also the context of, I explained about what is a dharma in the context of the Rudra. Now, if you look at these meanings, it touches all the different 5 human values one way or the other. And then when we actually go to the root or the source of everything, that root or source of everything is another meaning of the word Rudra. And I think we went through what that root or source means last time. So there is also description on these YouTube links. So please contemplate on those, connect to those, etc. Now we stopped at a point where Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya, and that Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. And last time we started talking about what that Rudra is in the context of Bhagavate Rudraya. We contemplated on what is the meaning of Bhagavan, which is effulgence, and Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Each word has very beautiful meaning and context to them. And if I keep on explaining every single word, as I said, the study circle will run forever. I'm sharing my screen now so that you can all see what we were talking last week as effulgence. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. One of my brothers had a problem with me showing the picture of a moon. So I had to really find the source as the sun, which is a beautiful insight. And Swami's grace, I was really able to find a beautiful picture of a sun and how the sun's reflection is all, wavery in the context of the water. Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Salutations to the divine effulgence Rudra. Now, this effulgence has a meaning in every religion. Every religion invokes God as effulgence. Moses saw the God on the Mount Sinai as light and effulgence. And light and effulgence is the reference of the entire Gayatri mantra is about effulgence, Bharga. Bhagavan in Hinduism referred to very simply means effulgence. And also Bhagavan has other meanings, Bha for creation, Ga for sustenance, and Va for dissolution as the 3 aspects of creation. And now, how does this Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya relate to us as individuals? The source is present everywhere. like the sun is present everywhere. In fact, we are in the light of the sun. There is nothing that is not in the light of the sun when the sun is shining, and the sun is constantly shining. So the whole universe is in the light of the sun, or at least in the context of our galaxy and our planetary system. So, and now we are talking about all the beings are reflections of this divine effulgence. So we are invoking source, reflection, and this reflection, however, is not perfect, not perfectly reflected. And now the next 15 yajus that we are going to look at will invoke what these different meanings are in the what this 15 first Anuvaka of Sri Rudram has the first 5 mantras we will go through, how they relate to in the context of essence of Rudram first Anuvakam is about now how this reflection now is able to receive this source in 100% perfection, or the source is reflected without any aberration in each being. This is what we are going to study in the Rudram Anuvakam 1. And today we will start invoking the very first 5 mantras. Request Brother Branimir to start and chant these first 5 mantras of Anuvakam 1. Are you ready, brother? Sairam, one more request. If you are opening your video, either you have to be seen in the video or please disable your video. Appreciate that. Thank you. If when you're asking a question, you can enable your video. Yes, brother.
Yes, just disclaimer as well. So Shekhar's bandwidth is very short, so that's why I have muted you and I have disabled your videos so that we can see and hear Shekhar well. So please be mindful on this. If you want to show yourself, then you show yourself only when you are speaking, right? When you unmute yourself, then you show yourself. But otherwise, please, when Shekhar is speaking, keep your camera and your mics off, right? Because otherwise we don't get and don't receive good connection and we can't hear and see Shekhar well. Okay. So I will start chanting, Shekhar.
Yes, please.
Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Om Namaste Rudramanyava Utota Ishave Namaha. Namaste Astu Dhanvane Bahubhya Mutate Namaha. Yata Isho Shivatama Shivam Babhuvate Dhanuhu. Shiva Sharau Yata Vatayano Rutramrudaya. Yate Rutra Shiva Tanura Ghora Papakashini. Tayanastanu Vashantamaya Girisham Dhabhichakashihi. Yamisham Girisham Takaste Bibharshyastave. Shivangiritratam Kurumahigum Sif Purushan Jagat. Shive Navachasat Tvagirishat Chavadamasi. Yatha Nasarva Mittagada Yakshmagum Sumana Asat Atyavochadat.
First 5 mantras.
Yeah, okay.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So, brothers, back to context of very quickly what we are referring to as the 5 mantras here. Are you seeing my slide, Branimir? Yes?
Yes, we see.
Okay. The Swami has said, and again, please forgive me, my knowledge is very much limited to what Swami has said, nothing more than that. Swami has said in discourses that the very essence of Sri Rudram is purity, unity, divinity. Purity, unity, divinity. Purity is the very first Anuvakam. Unity is described from Anuvakam number 2 all the way to Anuvakam number 8. 9, 10, and 11 are divinity. And how those are, we will understand and we will contemplate on that. And we went through the purity. Now, purity is described in the context of two aspects about the source and the reflection. The purity is about clarity, and the purity is all about stillness. And we also used the context of the source and the mirror last time, the source and the reflection last time. The second aspect of these first 5 mantras invoke different kinds of how the source is manifested. And the very first mantra, as you are seeing here, is about source is manifesting as an abbreviation here called Atma. What does this mean? And here you are seeing the exact, I'll put it on the slideshow so you can see probably better. Sorry, I'll switch here. Swap the screen. Are you now maybe not seeing my screen? Okay, 1 second.
Yeah,
Please bear with me. Please bear with me.
Yeah, now we see.
I'll put it in full screen so you can see
Yes.
it.
Okay.
So this particular mantra is invoking very simply. I have given here the literal meaning and the inner meaning. And when I send you, I'll send you the link of what link in YouTube explains or elaborates on this. Namaha te Rudraya. O Rudra, salutations to you. Salutations to 4 things here. Salutations to your Manu. Manu, literal meaning is anger. Salutations to your Ishu, which is the arrow. Salutations to your Dhanus, Dhanvane, which is the bow. And salutations to your shoulders are the arms, Bahu. Namaha, Namaha, Namaha. And between these two Namahas, what is the meaning of Namaha? I have explained again. I will go through Namaste itself. Namaha te, Namaste. Namaste is a very beautiful, awareness now across the world as Namaste, including for my dear President Donald Trump. Namaste. And this Namaste is really about what te means yours. The reflection is actually referring to the source. I bow to you. I bow to you in the context of the source for the 4 things that are referred here. Now this mantra is very confusing. Why does the source have any anger? What does this mean? The source carries a bow and an arrow. And what is this in the context of? How do I understand all of this? Now, if you refer to the God as the one with anger, with an arrow and a bow and shoulders, that means the God has taken a form that is in the context of dissolution or destruction, and now you surrender to those aspects of it. What is called as Ghora and Aghora. Ghora means the fearful, Aghora means the peaceful. But when you connect it to the inner meaning of this, the source, when the source is engaged in action, when the source is engaged in awareness, there are 4 forces that are coming to this. Now, this is the inner encrypted meaning of each of those. Manu means force of awareness. Arrow means force of thought. Bow means that mind which launches these thoughts. And shoulders is those that execute those thoughts into action. Now, very simply put, what this mantra is invoking, very simply put, awareness in thought, mind, and action. And that the abbreviation is Atma. Awareness in thought, mind, and action. Swami also very beautifully gave a meaning to me when I very firstly started, contemplating on this. I told Swami, I'm not able to understand the meaning of this. When first of all, why is God referred to as somebody who is dreadful and fearful with a bow and an arrow and about to destroy everyone. And Swami said, no, 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 that is the literal meaning. The inner meaning is, and he wanted me to chant the mantra. As I was chanting the mantra, and this is a vision in my own vision, Swami started putting his hand as I was chanting. I said, Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya, Namaste Rudramanyava, Utota Ishave Namaha. Namaste astu dhanvane bahubhyamutate namaha. And he started doing this. Namaste Rudramanyava Utota Ishave namaha. Namaste astu dhanvane bahubhyamutate namaha. And he kept on doing this. And then he asked, so what is the meaning of the first mantra? And I said, what, Swami, you're showing cross? How is this possible that all these Hindus are chanting these mantras, thinking that they're invoking Jesus the Christ all this time, and the cross? And then he said, no, no, no. What is the meaning of cross? He asked. The meaning of cross, he said, is unity of three H's. This is the cross, the unity of the heart, the head, and the hands. He said, the inner meaning of Christianity in the context of the cross is when you do this, you are saying unity of the heart, the head, and the hands. That gave me a totally different awakening in the context of why people even do this. It is to acknowledge the unity of the three H's. Let's pause there and very simply. And now, by the way, each of these mantras have a rishi, has a chandas, and a god. For this mantra, Kashyapa is the rishi, Anushtup is the chandas, Rudra is the deity. Any question, comments on this?
Yes, if I can comment it, Branimir.
Yes, Brian.
So, dear brothers and sisters, you know, I've been listening to Shekhar and following his teachings and insights for years. But this, what it is shown on this slide, is the most beautiful vision, as per my understanding, you know, he got, you know, from his firm connection with divine. It is so beautiful, and I have been showing this slide, you know, of course, with a disclaimer that this does not belong to me. That actually, I'm just sharing what Brother Shekhar actually saw in his vision. But this is such a beautiful learning, and I have been sharing this in so many meetings, in so many youth meetings, all, I mean, around Europe. Whenever I have actually had some presentation on the Vedas, this is my first slide and my, let's say, introduction to the deeper meaning of the Vedas. And Shekhar, I'm so thankful. This is such a beautiful picture, and actually I actually connect all the inner meaning of Rudram. So all the pages you have actually put down for all of us, you know, this is a summary for me, you know, executive summary. You know, this,
Yes,
this,
yeah.
you know, this first slide is so beautiful, and I was, you know, contemplating on this so many times, because it encompasses everything, right? So thank you very much for this.
Saranam, brother. Thank you. And as brother said, very beautifully what he said, executive summary. And this word executive summary is a very critical word. The very first mantra of Sri Rudram is what is the essence of what our living is about. And Swami's teachings are all about human values and how you invoke human values in our daily living. And the context of these mantras about human values, this is the inner yajna. This is the jnana yajna. Jnana is awareness. And this awareness, now very simply put, I mean, there are only four forces that are existing in us. And that's the essence of it, that four forces are actually described actually three forces that are, Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti in the context of what the Sanskrit words are. Ichha is the issue, the arrow or the thought. Jnana is the awareness, and then the Kriya is the action. Integrity of what we call as the thought, word, and the deed, as it is said, that is what defines a Mahatma, a great soul. Disintegrity of thought, word, and deed is what is defined as Duratma, as a bad individual. This is Swami saying again. Now, having gone through this very first mantra, let's move on here. The second mantra is about Ya ta ishuhu sivatama shivam babhuva te dhanuhu Siva Saravya Ya Tava Tayanaha Rudramrudaya. Yata Ishuhu means this, O Rudra. Now you see in the context of these mantras, we are making a reference to this source, and I will go through how many references you make. First one is Namaha Te Rudra, Namaste Rudra. Here, Yata Ishu Rudra, Yata Yushu Shivatama Shivam Babhuvate Dhanuhu. Yata, O Rudra. These arrows of yours should be, they are Yata Yushuhu Siva. Siva means positive. Siva means auspiciousness. May these arrows of yours be positive. Not just positive, they may be beyond positive, which means even beyond auspiciousness. Shivatama. Te dhanuhu babhuva sivam. Now what we're saying, even your bow should be auspicious. Saravya. Saravya means actually quiver in which you store the arrows. You see, there is a quiver in which we store these arrows, and that quiver, yata saravya, let that be positive. Shiva, with the above, you give us happiness. Taya naha mrudaya. You see, Yata Rudra Yushuhu Sivatama Shivam Babhuva, and also your Dhanus, your bow, Saravya, your quiver, may that be positive. So when your arrows are beyond positivity and your mind, now you see, now you have to substitute what I said in the previous mantra. Now you have to mentally continuously substitute. Ishu means thought, arrow. Dhanu is bow, mind. Saravya, quiver. Now what is the quiver? The quiver is in which you store your arrows. Where are the arrows coming from? From the quiver. What is the basis of this arrow? The quiver. What is a quiver? From the word quiver came the word query, inquiry, question, quiver. So the Saravya is the quiver in which all these instincts that are the basis of the arrow are stored. Now substitute positive for Shiva, mind for Dhanu, instincts for quiver, arrows for thoughts. Now if you put all of them as positive and beyond positive and happiness, that means if your thoughts are positive, beyond positive, your mind is positive, beyond positive, your instincts, which means the quiver in which your instincts, means even the substratum of your thoughts are beyond positive, then who are you? You are positivity. When everything about you is positive, what do you give? Happiness to yourself and others. Now you see, the reflection is saying to the source here, O Rudra, may everything about me be just auspiciousness and positive. May my instincts be positive. May my thoughts be positive. May my mind be positive and peaceful. And may my quiver, which is where you store, that quiver is called chitta. Mano, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. Chitta is where you store all the instincts. May my conscience or the chitta, let that be positive. Then everything about me is positive, and then I shall be a pure individual, positive individual, and I shall give happiness to everyone around. Questions? People still there, brother?
Still there.
Okay. And it looks like even the yes, Sairam, someone.
I have a question, Sairam.
Yes, Lara, Sairam.
And I have a book that gives special meaning to Shivatama. Like it's this Anuvaka related to the invocation to Shivatama, goddess Parvati also.
Yes.
And this is the things that interest me to get on to understand better. Maybe there is another kind of interpretation.
Yes. The interpretations, definitely the word Siva has two meanings. When you say Siva, it is positive, the male. Siva is the female. So the word Siva are the same thing. It's the same thing referred to in two different contexts. Yes, when it is still and not doing anything in the context of that ever-present thing, that is Siva. When it is doing action in awareness and becomes kinetic, then it becomes a Shakti or Shiva.
Yeah.
So in the literal substitution meanings, you can whenever you hear the word Siva, Saravyaya, that Siva is reference to the Shakti. So that beautiful. Thank you for bringing that up. And now, yeah, what I focus on and what we should all focus on is the interpretation in the context of the name and the form are important for initial focus, but this is inner yajna. As we go inside, every mantra we should ask, how is this mantra helping me become better, helping me become more positive, helping me become more loving? What is the transformational aspect of this mantra? Question? Very good. Shall we move on to the next mantra? We have.
I just wanted to share, sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, Kusuma.
So the second slide, I've been doing gratitude nowadays. As soon as I get up in the morning, and whenever I come across a negative thought, suddenly my mind shifts to gratitude. So I just feel that the positive thoughts, the mind and the instincts can only be achieved by gratitude.
Thank you, Kusma. Thank you, Sairam. So when we are going to the next mantra, here we are invoking the form. Yate Rudra, O Rudra, this form of yours, Tanuhu, Tanu is form. Aghora, it is peaceful. Apapakashini, the one that does not actually have, it is radiant due to destruction of the vices and the sin associated with impure senses. Kasi means effulgence. Apapakasini means that which is effulgent or radiant, I should say, radiant because of no sins. Apapakasini. Taya naha tanuva shantamaya. Girishanta means, oh, dweller on the mountain. Now another reference to that source as Girishanta. Rudra, Shiva, Girishanta, different references to that source, and each of them very powerful when you contemplate on them. with that form of yours, Taya Naha Tanuva, Taya Tanuva Naha, you bring us all supreme pleasure, Shantamaya. Shantamaya means supreme pleasure or peace. Abhichakasihi, and intensified radiance that is all pervading. Sairam, I just saying these words, I am unable to actually even express myself because it gives so much of grounding that the experience is so important than very simply the expression. And so these inner meanings actually are guiding points or pointers that take us inside into that experience. So I hope you are now connecting to that experience of these mantras. And every time when you are chanting Ekadasi Rudram, let your mind go inside into this experience of the Rudram. And now I will give you the Da Vinci codes as Bhagwan has given in the context of, he asked me once, Giri, mountain. Okay, is God sitting only on mountain? Really? If God is just simply sitting on mountain, and how can you always refer to this mountain? Yes, God in the context of reference to that Kailas is sitting in that mountain. Now the mythological, the Hindu scriptural context is one thing, but actually Giri has another beautiful meaning in the context of several meanings. The Giri word has. Giri also has the context of the meaning of a cloud. Giri means one which is at a elevated state is the simple context of the word Giri. What is at an elevated state? A mountain, a cloud, the target of meditation, and the wisdom. And the meaning of a word in Veda, all these four are different contextual meanings of the Giri. Now this is what's called by the scholars as niruktam. The meaning of the word is in reference to where it is used and how it is understood. The meaning of the word is not about what you read in a dictionary. That is very simple literal context meaning of the word. These meanings of the word, like these, are experienced by the seers. For this mantra, again, Kashyapa is the Rishi, Brihati is the Chandas, Shambhu is the deity. Now, when you address this to the core of your inner self as Rudra, and this Girishanta is the dweller on a mountain, but actually Girishanta means the end of wisdom. Somebody asked me to write out what are the four ends. The end of wisdom is Girishanta. What is that end of wisdom? If you recall what I just said a few minutes ago, the end of wisdom is love. End of wisdom is love. So now you're referring to God as your core, as the love. When you invoke love, what happens? Aghora, you are automatically peaceful. Apapakashini, where does this love come? This radiance of love comes because of destruction of the vices associated and the sin associated with the impurity of the senses. And when your form becomes the love, love is my form, truth is my breath, bliss is my food. When love is your form, you are at the end of that wisdom, which is that love, and that love is the highest state of experience. And while colloquially what Giri means a mountain, what it is that the end of that wisdom, which is the love. Applying to this mantra now, the one who has attained that love raises to the top, and that love will spread like the light of love all around. Abhichakasihi. Now, when you look at that light and the love which is at the top of the mountain, that love, that light is able to pervade most of the place versus a light that is restricted to a small place. Think about this, please. If a light is shining only in a room that is dark, that light is permitted only to that room. When it is a moon, it is shining more places but not clear. But when it is that sun on the top of everything, it's radiating all over the world and illuminating everybody. So as the body, when you purify the body, that body shines, it's radiant because of purity of the body, which is associated with taking away the impurity of the senses and the sin associated with the impurity of the senses. That's like a light bulb, which is only shining within this body that is pure. But when you become Girishanta, means when you become the love, the end of wisdom, then that body which is the end of wisdom, that love is now spreading the entire world. Abhichakasihi, abhichakasihi. This is the meaning of this beautiful third mantra. First mantra is Atma. Second mantra is about invoking that purity of thought, the instinct, the mind. Now the third mantra is now invoking this purity of form that is peaceful, pleasant, non-violent, radiant, and very simply the end of wisdom, Girishanta, which is love. We are 1 minute over, and we're going to conclude this session, and we will reassemble tomorrow again at the same time. Please contemplate on this sharing, and you can connect to this in your own space. Any burning questions?
Sairam, this is Shrikant here.
Yes, brother.
I get a summary on the first Anuvaka as usually where you are kind of seeking forgiveness with Lord Shiva. Kind of, is that the summary, and is that?
Yeah, good question, brother. Forgiveness of Lord Shiva, as it refers to a god or an entity with a name and form, is one aspect of it. That is what is described as in the literal meaning of these mantras. People describe these mantras as seeking forgiveness at the feet of some dreadful god who is carrying bow and arrows and all of that stuff, etc. Yes, in the context of a first step of bhakti, as it relates to God is separate from me, therefore I have to be in the context of constant mode of seeking for his forgiveness is relevant and important. But these mantras that we are studying is really about how do these mantras transform our own inner self, and that is what we are contemplating on. Okay.
And one more question I had: how do I get the emails, the homework emails, or how do I sign up somewhere? Or?
Yeah. Sorry, Sairam. A lot of people are asking that question. If you please subscribe to Veda Study, VEDA-STUDY, Veda Study Google Groups. If anyone who wants to be on the email list, please subscribe to Veda Study Google Groups, and then if you can do it that way, that would be, you will be getting all the emails. Okay, Sairam.
Okay, thank you.
Sairam. Okay, so we'll close with chanting these three mantras and then closing with Samastaloka. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya ॐ नमस्ते रुद्रमन्यव उतोतयिषवे नमः नमस्ते अस्तु धन्वने बाहुभ्यामुतते नमः यातयिषु शिवतमा शिवं बभूवते धनुः शिवाशरव्याया तव तयानो रुद्रमृडया या ते रुद्रशिवा तनूरघोरा पापकाशिनी तया नस्तनुवा शन्तमया गिरिशन्ताभिचाकसी ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु 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 ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः जय साई राम।